We're seeing now more than ever disconnect between industry and kind of end consumers.
Hey folks, Flo here at Scaling Up 2024. I'm here with Wendy Ell. Why don't you give us a brief introduction?
My name is Wendy Ell. I have worked in energy and agriculture, advancing the bioeconomy for nearly 30 years, and I've been working to support organizations up and down each of those respective value chains.
Okay, great. And so one of the things that caught our attention on your panel is you spoke about, the fact that we can't track what we don't measure, which is obvious if you say it like that, but can you give us a little context?
Yeah, for sure. So I'm doing a number of different initiatives, and I actually sit on as a mentor on a number of different associations, helping to really address supports and the resources around that which is innovation. So the whole innovation system is a big, massive wheel. But the beautiful nature of the innovation system is how do we actually scale up real functional technologies that are of great utility at the end instead of just the shiny sort of sexy technologies. And so it's that front end validation piece of testing a lot of the technologies in real environments. And we're seeing that on the agricultural side and we're seeing that on the energy side. And so a lot of the work that I do is to help really advance those really game-changing technologies and how do we kind of substantiate and identify what is game-changing. And then at the end of that, how do we actually take a proven out technology and almost avoid what's often called the valley of death and actually grow the adoption curve of that. And sometimes growing the adoption curve means displacing pre-existing processes or pre-existing technologies. And so some of the, we're seeing that with AI right now. There's mistrust that sits behind. And so I think it's really important for the tech community to understand and appreciate that some of these intangibles like fear and confusion need to be addressed before we start to kind of generate an enabling environments for some of these technologies to actually drive change.
Fascinating. I hope you succeed in your mission. You also mentioned that regenerative agriculture and systems thinking are critical to advancing the bioeconomy. Speak about that, please.
Yeah, for sure. I do a lot of work to supporting regenerative. Not only do I work with farmers at the farm level, but I also work with industries and associations that are actually working to educate on regenerative farmer to farmer. Okay. So generating that practice of consultancy where, farmers in many cases can trust other farmers, but there's again this level of trust in terms of, okay, well, if you're telling me something, what product are you trying to sell me? So there's a lot of inconsistencies across the supply chain, and so for regenerative, one of the things that I often talk about is the paradox that literally sits within regenerative. So in order for us to advance regenerative, which is really stepping back into kind of indigenous and not nature-based wisdom, requires us to actually step forward with sophisticated gadgetry and measurement. And so in order for the economics and the financial and the investment community and the insurance community to underwrite and generate assurance in that system, we need to be measuring the gains. And so how exactly are the water efficiencies and the water ecosystems improving over time? How exactly are we watching soil amendments practices take place cycle to cycle? And so it's really that measurement and that at a micro level and actually creating the tools and then actually standardizing how we measure. What are the units upon which we're using to measure? We're finding country to country we're not using the same units of measure. So trying to kind of standardize that is huge.
Okay. Taking it to another level, which is public relations. This conference, I've been here for about 5 years, and every year the topic comes back that the industry needs to do more and get out. And it's a competitive space as well. I mean, the bioeconomy is one part of the economy. As big as we'd like it to be, it is still small today. What do you think needs to be done and prioritized, and how do you think the message needs to be packaged to resonate better with, let's say, I guess, governments, investors, and perhaps the public?
Well, I think you nailed it there, that the message is different depending upon the audience. So a government is seeking a certain thing, a tech innovator is seeking a certain thing, a retailer is seeing a certain thing. The end consumer is confused and is seeking a different kind of a story. And so I think a lot of the science in strategic communications and public relations is really understanding where the folks are sitting. And it's also not only sensing where they're sitting now, But when changes happen in the sector, new discoveries in science, new advancements in technology, new enablers with respect to access to capital, that creates new sets of conditions. And under those new conditions, what are the new communications that need to happen? So no longer are we in a world, I've been in public relations so long, where we used to be able to lay a plan and play a plan for many, many years. We can't do that anymore. We have to have that resiliency, that shifting capability to understand, okay, the sensing that we did with this particular market, that they need a little bit of priming in a slightly different way. They need to understand or be connected to new stakeholders and appreciate. And, we're seeing now more than ever disconnect between industry and kind of end consumers. And I think it's important for industry to recognize that they play a role in that as well.
Yeah.
So to not only market their product or their service, but also to step outside of that very comfortable box and get into the uncomfortable box of marketing the actual category within which they operate. So.
And in that context, how important are events like this one, in person, in real life events, at a time when social media is so dominant as a means to communicate to multiple audiences, frankly?
Absolutely, conferences like this are absolutely necessary, but this particular conference actually does it better than a lot that I've attended. I am asked to speak on so many different conferences, but what's unique to this is the panel that I sat on was really uniquely talking about systems thinking. And with respect to the bioeconomy, the beauty of the bioeconomy is it cuts across so many sectors. So if you're in construction, if you're in engineering, changes within bioeconomy and the changing factors and the products that are being asked to be used, that really changes your day-to-day activity. Architecture, textiles, and of course the obvious ones of agriculture and energy, but it does cut across so many different job aspects. What does it mean for human resources in terms of hiring of people? What does it mean for an individual that's trying to skill themselves up? Jobs yesterday are different than jobs today. So what I love about this particular conference is that they look at that holistic aspect of the bioeconomy instead of just trying to take like one agenda of a clean fuels agenda forward. They're recognizing that there are so many different streams and enabling factors, and that's what I love about this conference is not only connecting but actually talking about those real difficult things.
And if I can gently put you on the spot, if we were to develop, like, let's say, some kind of a PR strategy, just a very quick one in a few minutes, but how would you use an event like this, and how would you, let's say, integrate it in a bigger plan? Like, what can we build on top of something that is a yearly event, very well attended, but wants to grow and wants to perhaps have more impact?
Yeah, and I do have a suggestion, and things that I've
perfect.
done with a lot of groups in the past is synchronizing communications with some of your partners. So at this event, you're seeing a lot of industry associations, presidents and executives of industry associations. They too have communications channels and communications agendas. And so how do you actually do a bit of a synchronizing and order of operations exercise where you're putting communications out in a similar fashion and creating more impact, and at the very same time, how do we actually look at the lexicon, the narrative, the actual language that we're using, and all sing off the same song sheet instead of using different terminology for different things? How do we actually kind of start to standardize that terminology in our communication? And it's something that you can do through this organization that you've actually created. You're bringing everyone together. It's just the exercise on what you do afterwards to kind of create that collective effort.
Great, very clear. Thank you very much. Appreciate your time, Wendy.
Thank you.